5.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Starboard Portal. I'm Jake Fish and I'll be joined by Gary Jobson soon. And today we are interviewing Anna Tunnicliffe Tobias. Anna is a 2008 Olympic gold medalist and 4-time Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year award winner. She has also competed in several CrossFit Games over the past several years. And before we get started, if you're enjoying the Starboard Portal, please support our efforts to build a community of active and engaged sailors by purchasing or renewing a U.S. Sailing membership. We have a lot of great content coming up on the schedule, and thanks to U.S. Sailing members, we're able to adapt and evolve to better serve sailors with content like this. Visit us at mem.ussailing.org to join or renew your U.S. Sailing membership today. Anna, welcome to the Starboard Portal.
Thanks for having me.
How have you been lately? Talk to a little bit about what are some of your projects and programs and things that you're working on.
Well, we just like most businesses in quarantine, we were shut down for the last 3 months. So we've been, kind of working remotely, trying to grow our gym, and now things are starting to open up. So we've been busy getting back to it.
One thing I wanted to sort of kick off here is just because we're going to take a chance to look back at your career on the water over the past 12, 13, 15 years. And there was a year of that 4-year dominance between 2008 and 2011, really into 2012, where something clicked with you before that, around 2007, 2008, Laser Radial trials. Talk a little bit about, your development during that time, that critical time, 2006 through 2008, and how everything sort of came together at the right time.
I think a lot of it was putting the right team together, both on the water for coaching and support team and Laser Radial, and then same in the match racing, having the right team on the boat and the right support team, both coach and shore team. And just really kind of learned a lot mentally about competing at that level, and was able to control a lot of the mental game for myself. And and honestly, like, it sounds silly, but like, I was just having fun. Like, I had a blast sailing, and when you're having fun sailing and you're calm and collected the whole time, like,
having fun.
Right, that's what it's all about, I think.
All right.
I'd like to introduce Gary Jobson. Gary Jobson, thanks for being on here, and you had a chance to meet and greet with Anna several times after she won 4 of these Rolex awards, and had a chance to really track her career for several years. Good to have you here, and an opportunity for you to chat with Anna about her career.
I think I first met Anna sailing when she was sailing at the college nationals down in Lake Travis in Austin, Texas. We did a TV show, and she was racing A division and quite competitive. So I've kind of been watching her for quite a long time, and what a ride. But I think maybe the best thing, Anna, let's just start off with this, is you're not done yet. So what's on your schedule here for the next year or so, and what are your long-term aspirations? Then we're going to go back to a bunch of other things.
Well, unfortunately, we just lost the trial, so that was a little bit of a, sad time for us. But we're super pumped for Steph and Maggie to continue on, and hopefully, if things work out, like, we might be able to do a little bit of training to help get them ready for the Tokyo Olympics, and then we'll go from there.
Of course, in the trials, you came into the game a little bit late, and for the first time, you were serving as a crew, not the helmsman. So did that make a difference, the late start and being in a different position?
I think definitely, it put us on our back foot. We had to play catch up, had to do a lot of work, a lot of hours on the water. And then, but I think we got really good. We got finishes at championship.
You broke up there for a second.
In a very competitive. Sorry. I said we had 2 top 10 finishes in the World Championships, and I think that's quite good in that fleet given the time that we had, and we were definitely on the right path. And ultimately, it came down to 1 point in one regatta. So That's
Well,
sailboat
I
racing.
another point in another regatta was the final race and the medal race at the first turning mark. It wasn't going so well, and you could finish a lot of different places in the Olympics, but you saw something special. So walk us through that last race in Qingdao and how you saw that wind and how it worked out.
So when we first got out there, we did our research, and Luther was coaching me at the time on the water, and we kind of assessed the race course and decided that, you know, current, wind, everything looked a little bit better by the seawall. So we first off, we started the race. The OCS flag went up, the individual recall flag went up. So someone was over. I heard them saying a number, but a country, and I couldn't understand who it was, but I knew I had like a good start. So I didn't, you know, the only way, a guaranteed way to lose the gold medal was to score an OCS, and that would give me the bronze. So, yeah, so then I went back, restarted, and was like, all right, so let's follow the game plan, try and play catch up. Sailed the initial plan that we had, and rounded the top mark 8th, passed the boat, lost the boat downwind, rounded 9th at the bottom. And then on the second upwind, you know, obviously I knew that one side didn't work, and the left side had been a little bit better for the previous beat. But yeah, then we looked upwind, and there was most of the fleet was heading right, and a couple of us were looking out left, and there was a bit of pressure out there, and headed out towards it, and got probably like a knot or two more breeze than everybody else, a 40-degree shift, and climbed right back through the fleet.
And I think we lost Gary for a second, but when you realized that you had gotten through that last race, what were some of the first thoughts that came to mind in terms of your pathway to that podium and everything that you went through to get there?
First off, I would say I was like super excited. You know, it was a dream, a lifelong dream to that point to get the gold medal. Secondly, I would say relief. Like, thank goodness, like this all worked out, and we made it. I think probably the last downwind leg, I sat so still. I've never sat so still in a boat in my entire life, because I could not afford a yellow flag. I didn't want the jury to even notice that I was on the race course. Just sat still and got to the finish line as fast as I could. So crossing the line, I was relieved that like we made it through the race, but just relieved that all 4 years like had paid off, all the hard work and everything we'd gone to. You know, it was a really solid quad of sailing. Paige is phenomenal. And so trying to like catch up and, you know, even get even with her, and then, you know, have a better week during the trials, to qualify for the Olympics. You know, that was so much energy. But yeah, at the end, it was just like relief. And then, you know, thankful for everybody that supported me along the way. Like I definitely wouldn't have gotten there if it hadn't been for the support team that was behind me, my coaches, you know, family, friends, and sponsors. And then just proud that, you know, I did what my job was to go to the Olympics, was to bring home a gold medal for the US.
And you did that. And so you had mentioned your teammates, coaches, a number of people that had supported you over the years, Paige Raley being a teammate and competitor. What about some international opponents that drove you to be the best you can be? We'll talk about the Laser Radial for now, and we'll look at some of the other classes perhaps later. But who did you always have your eye on, knowing that I've got to get past her? You know, I always have to have an eye on her in terms of where she is on the race course, and they're going to drive you to become the best you can be. Who are those sailors, and what was it about them that you learned from those sailors?
I'll be honest, like even though US internationally, Paige, she was the best for a long time in the quad, you know, and she just set the standard for everybody to try and catch up. And then, you know, as the quad got going and like people started getting more and more comfortable in the boat, Gintari from Lithuania was really good. Leisure from, you know, A.B. Van Aken from Belgium. Like, just the field was quite deep, you know, and any 8-10 people could have been on the podium, you know, in any event.
Gary, I'm got back here. I don't know what happened to my video, but it disappeared. Sorry about that.
It's okay. we were talking about both domestic and international, opponents, teammates, if they were from the US, but who drove Anna? And she talked a lot about Paige, and, the Laser Radial fleet itself has just always been tremendously competitive. And so that's sort of where we were talking about now.
All right. Well, very good. Should I grab the grip here, Jake, and continue on?
Please do.
You mentioned Luther Carpenter had been coaching with you in Beijing. And I just wonder what a coach brings to the equation at a high level.
So I had two coaches in China, Lusa and Mitch Brindley, and both brought their own thing to the table. But really, it was for me at that level, when I'm looking for a coach, I'm looking for obviously somebody to point out, like, what I'm missing on the race course, how to make my boat go faster, but more of a peer relationship than a top-down relationship. Because everybody's good at that stage, and so you can have more of a discussion about what's going on versus, yeah, you need to go right, or yeah, you need to go left. But it's more of a discussion of what you see and everything like that, and let the coach take care of the little details, like what the point spread is and who's on what point and who finishes where, and and I go sailing and make my boat go as fast as I can in the right direction. But yeah, really more of you're looking for that, I guess, peer relationship where you can get along and both bring your skill set to that relationship.
I hope you're up for a tough question.
Oh no.
Not so tough, but I'm very curious. So in 2008, you went through a very tough trials, off Third Beach or whatever it was, off Newport, Rhode Island. And it was pretty intense and close, and Paige was very good. And there were several other women that were really good. So that by the time you got to Beijing or Qingdao, China, you were ready for anything, and it showed, and it got you a gold medal. However, for 2012 and 2016, and I guess now 2021, we changed the format dramatically, that the trials are a series of regattas, the Europeans or Miami or World Championship. So my question is, does the U.S. trials prepare our team better, or is our team prepared better for the games going through the current system?
That is a tough question. I think, when we did it back then, it was an awful 2 weeks of sailing. It was my least favorite 2 weeks of sailing that I've ever had, purely because of the stress involved in it. But yes, there was a significant amount of stress, and it was a do or die event. There were no real outside factors. It was just you and everybody else from the US competing, no international friends or anything like that. So, in one sense, that was really good, because it did just come down to sailor versus sailor. However, we did have a fleet of 22, but, I think only 4 or 5 people maybe scored a top 3 result in the entire regatta, so, and Paige and I accumulated most of the first and seconds. So in that sense, were we just match racing around the race course and not actually fleet racing the type of way that we would need to at the Olympics? So, you can see arguments both ways. The match racing trials were obviously a US only who beat who thing. And then this time at our 49er FX trials, yeah, it came down to 1 point. We ultimately all tied. We tied on trial points, and then Paris and I tied for 6th place, but lost the tiebreaker at Worlds, which cost us our Olympic berth. But 1 point on the race course, where could we have found that? If it was just us versus them, would it have turned out differently? Who knows? They're a great team as well. So would it have gone back to a similar trials as what we had in 2008 with Paige and me, and just a 2-boat race around the race course? Quite possibly. So, but is that fleet racing in the sense of what you need? It could go both ways.
Okay, well, there's a definite maybe there. So tell me a little bit about what you're up to today. What is your career, and what are you up to, and what are you working on?
So I own a CrossFit gym, T2 CrossFit in Bridgeville, Pennsylvania with my husband. And that is pretty much taking up most of my time. We're building that, growing that, and it just, from 5 a.m. till 8 p.m. working. It's fun.
Are you available for professional sailing?
Yes, absolutely. Just tell the hubby I'm leaving. Looking definitely to do some sailing. Obviously, a lot of things are shut down now and closed, and slowly starting to reopen and get going. But definitely looking to get back into coaching again, like the youth and Olympic teams when I can. And then sailing fun, fast boats is what I want to do.
A couple seasons ago, we saw you coaching here at the United States Naval Academy. How was that?
That was a ton of fun. It was so cool to go back to and coach some college sailing. I haven't been really involved in college since I left. So it was fun to teach. I was working primarily with the lasers in the beginning of the season and then match racing towards the end of the fall season. So it was really cool to kind of get back into the match racing and everything.
Did you get in a boat and race against them at all, the midshipmen?
I did. I think I did 1 or 2 practices in a boat against them. Yeah.
I've done it a few times. I find it humbling.
They are quite good, yes.
Of course, they're in those boats every day on those waters, and they get good at it, really good at it.
Yep.
I think Navy just had 5 sailors named on various All-American teams last week, or just a couple days ago. So that was pretty cool. All right, so you just missed this time for the games, but you're still young. You might not feel it, but you are. So you must be thinking about a future Olympics.
Yeah. Did someone tell you to say that?
No. Nobody told me to say anything.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm 30. I'm almost 38. I love my gym. I love my community that I have up here. So we'll see what happens down the road. Right now, maybe more coaching than sailing, but things change. That's what I said last time after London. So, and here I am trying again.
The reason I ask is for 2024 and 2028, we're going to have a new event, double-handed mixed crew long distance race. And I wonder if you have any aspirations for that, because you got to be in really good shape, which you are. And you got to think long-term, which you do.
Yes, I could see how that would all work, but no, I really, I like coming ashore. I like showers. I like going to bed. I like quick, fast races. But I don't know. It ultimately depends, right? It's a new discipline that's coming out. Like, we don't really fully know, like, kind of how it's all going to run. So, I'm not going to say no for now, but.
Well, part of it would be who you would team up with to race.
Exactly, and that's a big thing too. Team's very important.
Well, I think it's a great event, and from my viewpoint, to have 1 out of our 10 medals being a long distance race in a keel boat would be pretty compelling.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so I want to plant a little seed that maybe you think about it. And then in 2024, so let's see, you'd be 42.
Yeah.
And Buddy Melges was 42 when he won a gold medal in 1972.
All right.
So 42-year-olds can win gold medals.
This is true. They can.
So, all right. So, but coaching. So you've had some really good coaches over the years. And I think Dave Dellenbaugh did some coaching with you.
Yep. He was our coach for the London Olympics.
Right. And certainly Luther Carpenter worked with you. So what did you learn from some of the coaches that helped you as you try and coach others and help them?
I think it's very important to see how coaches interact with athletes, and I love to see like dynamics that they go on. And I observe a lot of the coaches working with their athletes, and what they had with our team, and then the relationship that Luther had with me on the water when we were sailing, like the mutual respect that was there, like and you see some relationships where the coach is always like berating the athlete, yelling at them, telling them that they're doing things wrong all the time. And I think there's a time and a place to say, hey, like, you screwed this up, like, fix it, but this is like constant from some coaches, and that to me is like a no. So for me, like, taking that the respect that they had for me as an athlete, and then when I coach athletes, like, I want that same respect. Like, yes, I'm there to help, I'm there to teach, but let's make it a discussion. Let's both be equals on this and figure this out together, versus me constantly just telling you all the time, because then that way, like, it's kind of always talking down, and I want them to feel good and like kind of figure this out, and like as a team we make it work.
I think it's fair to say that certainly in my lifetime, 40 or 50 years ago, there weren't so many opportunities for women in high level competition. No women Olympic classes, for example, and you had the Adams Cup, but not too much else. What do you think of the progress that's been made in recent years? And do we have gender equity today in sailing?
I think it's getting good. I think there's a lot of super talented ladies out there, and having the mixed divisions in the Olympics really helps out a lot. And I think it's really cool that there's a lot of female drivers in the NACA class, just as there are male drivers. Because most time you think mixed boats, like the general is the guy drives, the woman crews, right? So it's really cool to see the mix and the girls are on the podium just as often as the guys are, and I think that's really awesome to see. As far as gender equity, I don't know. Probably not where we want it to be, but I think there's a lot of steps being taken in the right way. There's a lot of groups that are really working on that and really pushing it and getting there. And proving that sailing, the cool thing about sailing is that, like, it can be an equal sport. Like, so much of the game is in your head that there's nothing to say that, like, everybody can't compete against everybody. Like, yes, there's the boats that are certain physical restrictions. Like, could I sail a fin? Yes, in about 4 knots of breeze,
Maybe
But-
6.
maybe 6, and could a fin guy sail a radial? Yeah, in about 25 knots, like, so there's like the physical restrictions, absolutely. But the actual pure game of sailing and like the tactical strategic side of it is very equal, I think. And I think when you look at it that way, and you look at just the talent that somebody has strategically and tactically, like, I think there is a lot more opportunities for girls that could be even more, I think. But it's definitely making progress in the right direction, I think.
I think one of the hallmarks of your Olympic campaigns and your racing is physical fitness. So now looking back a little bit, how did all your physical fitness training help you?
Huge, right? Like, so sailing there's so many aspects of the game that are out of your control when you're sailing. Like, yeah, we try to read the wind, we try to guess what Mother Nature's going to throw at us, but it's a guess, right? Like, you hope that you get it right. But what can you control? You can control your boat handling, you can control what you eat on the water, and one thing you can control is your fitness. So the fitter you are, the more you have time to concentrate on the things that aren't actually in your control, like where the fleet is, concentrating on how to set yourself up to them, versus worrying about your legs being tired or your arms being tired, or just mentally getting tired throughout the day. So physical fitness is huge, I think, in the sport.
How much time do you spend with physical fitness these days?
I probably train for about an hour and a half a day now.
Wow. And what just give me a little menu of some of the things you do for your training.
Well, today's workout was really not that long today. Today took me just under an hour. I warmed up, did a 5x5 heavy deadlift with 2 minutes rest in between. And then I did my workout. It was a 12-minute workout, 21 calorie row, 12 handstand push-ups. And so it was quick and simple, but it laid me out on the floor afterwards.
I can imagine. It sounds tiring. I try to walk an hour a day at least.
That's good.
At least 5 miles, and I
Wow.
find that is that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about some of the things, notoriety that you've received over the years. And maybe it was 2 years ago or so, I just happened to be channel surfing and I came across this athletic competition. Oh my God, there's Anna Tunnicliffe. And you were out there doing all these different disciplines. And tell me a little bit about that television series that you were part of, or that competition.
Yeah, so that was the CrossFit Games. It's basically like the World Championships of CrossFit. Each year you have to qualify to make it to the games. And really they throw everything at you. You don't know what you're going to do. They tell you, you might get to know 2 or 3 days ahead of time. You might get to know 20 minutes ahead of time. So you just have to train and be fit and ready for anything that they could possibly throw at you, from swimming to running to max weightlifting to gymnastics, walking on your hands, everything like that. So it's been a lot of fun training and doing it and participating in it, because just like sailing, every day is totally different. So you never get bored.
I can imagine. Well, it looked pretty energetic to me. And if I remember, you finished about 5th out of 10 in that one, something like that.
Maybe I've done a lot of them, a lot of events in each games.
Have you won a few?
I've won the Masters the last 2 times.
How old do you have to be a Masters?
35.
Oh, like the Laser.
Yes.
Or you're a master apprentice, I think, in the Laser.
Yeah.
I found you always wanted to be in the younger part of those groups, You want to be
Absolutely.
35, not 44, 45, not 54 in those groups. To keep up with ODU, Old Dominion, where you went to school?
I track them a little bit. Yep, when I can.
And Mitch Brindley's still there. He was your coach, and
Yes, he's awesome.
he is awesome. What things did you learn from Mitch Brindley?
Mitch pretty much put me in my place and taught me how to train, how to be disciplined in practice. I came in and I had coaching when I was growing up in youth sailing. Had some great sailors, pretty much almost volunteer that time. We threw them a little bit of money, but we didn't have a lot to spare. And so, they helped me. And then when I got to college, I was like, hey, like, I'm good. And I wasn't. And, between
I like that. That's good.
Between the seniors that year and Mitch and Mark Zagel was the assistant that year, I got put in my place quite quickly, and it was really good. It was the discipline and the training that I needed to get me to where I got to in my sailing career. If I hadn't have done that, I really don't think everything else would have fallen into place. And but he was just, like I said, he pretty much taught me how to train, how to get everything out of a training session, and how to be disciplined about it.
Were you recruited to go to ODU?
No, I don't know. I don't know if there was as much recruiting back then as there is now. But no, I went to Old Dominion because no, I looked at a couple schools. It was pretty much came down to St. Mary's and ODU, and I liked ODU better. And they had what I wanted to study. I wanted to study accounting, and they had accounting.
So you must be good with numbers.
No, a computer does all the work.
Oh.
No, I like the problem solving. I think that's fun.
Okay. So did you take statistics along the way?
I did. Yep.
Because I found statistics to be really hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that class.
Oh, that's good. Good analytical mind. All right, back to the notoriety bit. I have to mention it. I remember seeing you in a magazine, ESPN magazine, in their non-swimsuit issue. There were no swimsuits.
There was no swimsuits, no.
Did that help you at all? Did anything good come out of that?
You know what I think came out of it? I think it helped show that, one, sailors are athletes, and two, that like there are strong women. One, strong women in the world, but strong women sailors too. And I think that like that's really why I did it, because I wanted to show that we are athletes and the women are strong and can do this.
All right. I'm not sure I've ever gone sailing without any clothes on, but
I don't recommend it.
anyway,
Not a laser,
that was
at
an
least.
exciting moment on ESPN magazine, and I think you get high marks for giving it a shot. And And many other athletes have done that over the years too. So very cool. So I know I've been with you a number of times where you've done lectures and you get a lot of young people around. And I think you happily surprise them when you pull out your gold medal and let everybody touch it and feel it. So what do you say to some junior sailors, the Opti kids, some of the up and coming 420s, of how do they reach their dreams? What do you say to them?
Really, I think it's one, I emphasize that like the most important thing the whole time is to have fun. Like you just have to have fun when you're sailing, and the winning is the added bonus. That being said, like you need to have a goal. So if your goal is to make it to the Olympics, that's awesome. But now set a realistic time frame to get there, and and kind of plan it all out to where you want to be and be realistic about it, versus just being like, oh, I'm going to go to the 2024 Olympics. I've never sailed a 49er FX, but this is what I'm going to do. Like plan it out. It's probably going to take more than 2, 3, 4 years to get there. And then, also tell them that like, hey, like the kids that I coach these days are probably way ahead of where I was skill wise when I was their age, and so even if they feel like they're getting beaten and defeated all the time, like some of the Opti sailors these days are phenomenal, but you don't have to win the Opti Worlds to go to the Olympics, right? Like you sail Opti, you learn how to sail, and when your time comes, like, and you really want it, the opportunity will present itself and you can develop your sailing skills and go after that goal.
I was out sailing yesterday. My wife and I went out on the bay and set our asymmetrical spinnaker, and there were 3 groups of Opti kids out there on the water, and there were like 10 or 11 boats in each of them. And the older kids, I'll tell you, they look pretty good. The younger ones are all banging into each other. It's kind of a hoop.
Hey, that's what it is, right? That's Opti sailing.
Yeah, but the 12 and 13-year-olds, maybe there was a 14-year-old in there, they actually look pretty skilled at the sailing, and I'm sure they'll all be recruits in the near future as they apply to colleges. So, Anna, if you were the czar of the Olympic Games and looking at the classes that we have at the present time, what class are we missing? What would you add?
Man, I don't know. I like all the classes right now. I think there's a really good range. I think maybe, well, the keelboat's coming back in the long distance, so that's good. I think there's the cool thing about sailing is there are so many boats. So my thought process on it is there's so many boats out there. Like, let's have a discipline for, I don't want to say weight groups, but like body sizes, so if you're a smaller, shorter person, you'll say like you're more directed towards these boats versus, and I think right now the average weight for most female boats is around the same. Like, yeah, 470s have a super small crew and a bigger skipper, but if you look at the average weights across the classes, it's all pretty even. Like, so keeping diversity so that, you have the option, like all talented sailors have the option to certain boats. Because, if you're a 110-pound girl, unless you're planning on skipping a 470, right, you can't really sail anything else. And then even that requires getting a crew that's a certain height, so, and then conversely on the other end, if you're heavier, there's not much to sail. So, making sure that there's something for everything so that no talented sailor is really left out.
How much do you weigh and how tall are you?
I am 5'6", almost 5'7", and I weigh 150.
And all muscle, I'm sure.
Some of it.
So I noticed on your right arm there, you've got 3 rings. What does that symbolize?
So I have 3 rings and an arrow going through it. Basically, they're stripes. So if you count the colored in bit and the skin part, there's 5 stripes. That represents the 5 CrossFit Games that I went to, and the arrow represented the first Masters Games. So I have to figure out where I'm going to put the second one.
Oh, you're going to get another one?
Oh, I have to.
Oh, okay. Those things hurt?
No, not really.
No, you just got to be patient, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
And
More
you
time
wake up
consuming.
and you wake up and you look at it and you're glad it's there.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
All righty. So you're living in Pittsburgh, is that right?
Correct.
Is there a lake out there somewhere?
No, we have 3 rivers.
Right, can you sail on those rivers?
You could. I don't. No,
No,
there is a lake. There's like a lake an hour from here, that has sailing on it, and then another lake about an hour and a half that has some sailing on it.
And have you gone sailing on those lakes?
No, I went windsurfing on one once, but not sailing.
So you like windsurfing. Have you done any of the kiteboarding?
No, not really. Nope.
I tried it once and that was
Yeah?
it. It's pretty scary, but I'm not so young, so I don't know. Windsurfing was just seemed a little safer. And
I agree.
kiteboarding, get up in the air there and it kind of takes your breath away a little bit. And
Yeah.
it's but it's pretty interesting concept of how you go fast. So with your Olympic sailing, here you did Laser Radial, then you did match racing, 3 women, a keelboat and the Elliots, and then you gave it a shot in the 49er FX. So those are 3 very different boats. So how do you analyze the skill sets of those 3 very different boats?
They all had their own things, and there was a reason I went from one to one to one. So a reason I went into the Laser Radial, I didn't know that many people outside of my college sailing team. I knew I wanted to go to the Olympics. Sailing the Laser Radial was good. My dad had a boat that I pretty much permanently took from him, also known as stole from him.
That happens.
Thanks,
He was
Dad.
happy about it, I'm sure.
Maybe. I'm sure in the end he was. So thank you, Dad, for that. No, so I had a radial. I started sailing that. It was easy. I enjoyed sailing by myself. I liked the physical side of it. And I think at the time it was pretty much probably the most physical boat, aside from windsurfing is obviously physical, but I wasn't very good at that. So I like the physical side of the Laser, and that's kind of where I went. From there, I've always had a goal to compete in the America's Cup. I think that has been a lifelong goal. And so I was like, and at the time it was still monohulls. And I was like, okay, well, sweet, they're putting match racing in. Obviously, I'm going to need to know match racing. So dove into match racing to learn as much as I could about that. And then they went to multi-hull foiling boats. So I was like, oh, now I got to learn high performance boat. And so the high performance boat next was the FX. So, hopped in and started sailing that, then retired from sailing for a little bit, and then hopped back in it to continue the high performance.
So do you prefer one of those boats over the other, or disciplines over the other?
No, they're all so much fun. Like the Laser downwind in waves is epic. The upwind's not as fun, but the hard work is rewarded with the downwinds. Match racing, like, my God, that's just a fun game to play. Like, you have 10 minutes to try and like beat somebody, basically 10 minutes, right? 10, 15 minutes to just try and outsmart somebody the whole time. And if you lose or you get behind, well, it's over and you do it again. Just a ton of fun trying to like outwit somebody on the race course. And then the FX is just fast. That's a lot of fun.
In the spring of 2007, so this is a year after you graduated from ODU, John Burnham was the editor of Sailing World magazine at the time. And he called me up and said, I have an article idea for you. Why don't you put together the ultimate America's Cup crew? So I put these 16 sailors down, and I had you on the crew, and I had Zach Raley on the crew. Now, that was a year before the Olympics, and I knew you were doing well, but we didn't know you were going to win a gold. We didn't know Zach was going to win the silver. So I had you in my head sailing in America's Cup. Have you gotten any phone calls or invitations from any of these teams?
No, someone should call me up. No, I haven't. To be fair, I was focusing on my Olympic sailing and that, and like times. So, if the opportunity presented itself and it was a good opportunity, then, like I said, it's been a lifelong dream. It would be amazing.
Well, I'm kind of going to lead to a point here. All right, so I get you're doing the Olympic campaigns. It's hard. You can only do one of those kind of things at once, either Olympics or America's Cup. Maybe Peter Burling can do it, but most humans can't do something like. However, you're a member of the New York Yacht Club.
Yep.
And the New York Yacht Club, in my view, has a reasonable chance that they might actually win the cup from New Zealand. So let's say that they win. That might be a stretch, but let's say they win and they bring the cup back to Newport, Rhode Island, Narragansett Bay, or out in the ocean there, and they go back to some kind of big monohull. It seems to me that you're good at match racing, you're in good shape, and maybe there'll be a spot for you on the defense team.
I like that idea. Let's do that.
So how would you make that happen?
Well, they
What
got to
would you
go
do?
win first, and then we'll do it.
All right, so we're all supporting New York to win the cup, and frankly, I think they're going to be the challenger. I do. Beating New Zealand in New Zealand, that's going to be a tough one, but maybe they can do that too. And I hope in my lifetime I see the cup back in the USA. And there's been a lot of skippers that were older than you that did well in the cup, and a lot of crews that did well. Buddy Melges was 62 when he steered America Cube, successfully defending America's Cup. 62, and you're a long way from 62.
I am. A little bit.
No, it's a long way. So when you took a gap from the Elliott after London, you missed Rio, and you jumped back into the 49er FX. How was that long delay, or that long pause in high level racing? Was it hard to get back in tune with the sport?
No, because I'd done some like coaching, so I'd been kind of staying in touch with like racing and looking at wind and stuff. It was a break that I needed mentally. Like I took the loss of the London Olympics really hard.
You ended up fifth.
We did. Yes.
Which isn't all bad.
It's not bad, but we won everything up to that point just about. So, well, not everything, but we were doing really well up to that point, and so it was heartbreaking, and I felt gutted and felt like I let my teammates down, my country down. Like you can see, it's really hard. So I felt like, all right, hopping in a new boat, let's going after it. Like I'm hungry to do this again, and just I knew what it took to get to that level, and didn't have that fire inside me at the time. So I was like, well, it's not fair to myself or to my crew to like continue on if I don't have that fight that I need to get to that point. And so the break was exactly what I needed to just kind of step back, focus my energy somewhere else. Like I still competed. I competed in CrossFit, so I still had my competitiveness going. Stayed in touch with sailing by coaching and watching the next team develop and everything, and then getting back into it. I was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll give it a try. And the Laser Radial, I was like, I'm fit, I can give this a go. And then I think it was the 2017 World Cup, maybe I tried to do, but because I took a break and retired, I hadn't like unretired long enough to be able to eligible to compete for WADA drug testing. So they told me I wasn't able to compete at that event, and I had to wait another 3 or 4 months before I competed. So at that point, I was like, all right, I'm done. And then was talked back into, hey, what if you crew? What about the front of the boat? And that sounded fun because it was a new challenge. I knew I didn't want to drive an FX. I was kind of done with the Radial at that point. I was like, all right, so they're like, crew 470 or FX, and because it was such a big challenge to like learn how to do a completely new job, and learn that role, and get back into the sport that I really love. Like it kind of came together.
You froze up on me. I was shaking my machine.
Oh,
So that probably looked like I'm jumping all around. You know, Anna, it's been 8 years since London 2012, and I can see that made you emotional, which made me emotional. But you have nothing to feel bad about. I mean, my gosh, 2 Olympics, a gold medal, and a 5th place, and a near miss on a 3rd. A lot of people do an awful lot of sailing and don't get anywhere close to that. So I would suggest you should feel really good about it.
Thank you.
Look at it this way. It's going to make a really good book when you when
Yes.
you sit down and write it, and you know the highs and lows, and it makes the highs higher, even though there's some disappointments. But having said that, I did some America's Cup campaigns, and winning was really cool, and losing wasn't as cool.
No.
And even all these years later, I look back with some regrets, and we could have done this or that. Maybe it'd be better. But then when I step back from all of it, I kind of think, how cool. I got to sail in 3 America's Cup campaigns, you know, and not everybody gets to do it. So anyway, I hope that helps you a little bit.
Thank you. Yep.
You know, I'm kind of smiling to myself, thinking I was sailing a laser, and one of our Olympic medalists started below me and behind, and she yelled, "Nice start, Mr. Jobson."
Aw.
Kind of, I said, "Well, the name's Gary, but thank you." And then pshoom, right through me to leeward and left me
Oh.
in her wake. You know, it's blowing about 6 knots, and I'm in a laser weighing 215, and that. So anyway, that was kind of fun. Well, all right. What else should we talk about here before we sign off for this session?
I don't know. You're so good at this.
Oh, I don't know. This is a privilege for me. I'm sorry I got a little late start, and I don't know what happened to my computer, went offline, but luckily I had an iPad here at the ready, so I've been holding on. I'm getting my arm in shape holding the iPad here
There you
for
go.
an hour. Well, Anna, I'm a great admirer of yours. You've done so many great things in the sport, and Rolex Sailor of the Year at the international level, of course, Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year. Okay, how many times have you won that one? 3?
The US? 4.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
And have you won the world twice?
Twice. Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's all right. It's not bad. Take
Not
it.
that bad. But I have a gut feeling you have one more left.
Here we go. We'll see. We'll see.
One more. America's Cup in Newport, or the Olympic Games in either France or LA.
We'll see. We'll see how everything unfolds.
We'll see. And keep up the good work, the CrossFit. And I hope to see you around the waterfront in the near future.
Thank you.
So with that, let's sign off, and keep up the good work. And thank you, Anna. Good interview. Well done.
Thank you, Gary. It's always a pleasure.
Okay. Don't leave.
We're off the air.
Okay.